You know I'm not a big newsbreaker. I let Pete handle that. I let Dellinger handle that. But sometimes Pate State Investigates has to jump in the fray. You may remember us from such investigative journalism as confirming that Connor Stallions was on the Central Michigan sideline with recordable glasses, might I add. Some say we broke the Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce engagement today. I think they may have had that first. But I do need to tell you, I'm going to wait to the end of the show to do it because I may get a little worked up. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. That Pate State Investigates is going to break some news on the show tonight. And the reason I can afford to wait, even in this cutthroat world of news breaking, is I know no one else has this scoop. And it's not good scoop, people, but it is scoop that we can fix before it goes over the cliff. Meanwhile, we're jam-packed high atop a sun-drenched downtown Nashville, Tennessee on this Tuesday night, August 26th, the year of our Lord 2025. Not a sad show, a very happy show. College football kickoff week 1 is here. We've got game breakdowns tonight. So LSU Clemson, yes. Notre Dame Miami, yes. Bama FSU, yes. Ramen Noodle Express, got 3 best bets dropping on the show tonight. I see, and I mean this, nothing standing between us and a 3-0 start. I do see something standing between Dave Portnoy and accessing Ohio Stadium Saturday, and that's been a big topic du jour today. I actually have some thoughts on it. I knew about this. I knew about it over the weekend. I didn't say anything on the show because, frankly, I didn't think it warranted being talked about on the show. But now that Front Office Sports is reporting it and Yahoo Sports is reporting it, yeah, I'll tell you what I think about it. JP Poll dropping on the show tonight. I told you this morning, if you were following me on the socials, it's going to be a jam-packed show. Friends and family a little worried. Like, is the physical and mental health going to sustain? Not only are we sustaining, we're thriving. We're good. Are you good? We're good. They're watching us in Elberton, Georgia. Osan Air Force Base, which I am reliably informed is in South Korea. Thank you guys for watching. Harrisburg, PA, which Jesse tells me is in PA. Thank you for watching. And Joplin, Missouri. Happy to have everybody on board. Listen, I need you to do 2 things. Subscribe to all the channels. And this is me giving you time to do that. And make sure you're following on the socials. At Josh Pate CFB. You've noticed all of our feeds are blowing up. That's before games have started. We're going to be on the sideline at Ohio State Saturday. At least someone is, right? Unless we trash Ryan Day between now and then. And we are not wont to do stuff like that. So we'll be there. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that you get, especially in the Instagram story on Saturday afternoons. Friday night lines in the Instagram story. Instagram Live on a Friday night. Like, what are you doing? It's free. Josh Pate CFB over there. Okay, let's dive in. Got a lot to get to. You hear the thickness? So we kind of made a tradition of measuring the thickness of the show, the jam-packedness of the show, by how loud the papers are when they hit this new swivel desk in front of me, by the way. I appreciate the guys for setting that up. So, which game should we open with tonight? And if you're wondering, by the way, if you're listening to the show and you somehow missed Sunday, apparently none of the rest of you did because we got huge viewership on that thing. Texas-Ohio State was in the Sunday show. The video is on the YouTube channel right now. So we did that game. We did Auburn-Baylor on the Sunday show. But this is the Tuesday show. Let's dive in. LSU at Clemson, Saturday, 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. This is Fowler Herb Street, I do believe, on this game. Week 1's been a struggle. I'm not going to really dwell on this too much because everyone who follows college football religiously already knows all this stuff. But Brian Kelly and LSU, well, mainly LSU, lately Brian Kelly, haven't won a season opener since 2019. Yes, we know that. Yes, I think most of us remember that Clemson was 0-3 versus the SEC last year. Even though they won the ACC, they went to the playoffs. So I start with this. In the interest of making bowl season great again, could we call this the Identity Bowl? Could we call this that because there are 2 differing philosophies on college football? Maybe on life, but on college football, because I look at Brian Kelly and I look at LSU, and they knew they had deficiencies, and they went and attacked the portal. Dabo Swinney looked, and he said, we don't really have many deficiencies because we haven't leaned on the portal. We've gone and recruited, remember that? And then we've developed, and we have immersed our guys in a rock-solid culture that people mock Clemson for it, but it is different up there. I'm not telling you don't mock them. I'm just saying they're not lying when they say there's a little different way they do things. I know that rubs some people the wrong way in the personnel world. I know that you're trash talking behind the scenes, behind their back. Shame on you. It is a little different at Clemson. So anyway, it doesn't matter if you don't win. So this is where the rubber meets the road on the test of philosophies. Everyone at LSU believes, they'll be the first ones to tell you, look at how much we spent in the portal. We answered all of our questions. Okay, now you get to play. Everyone at Clemson will tell you, we don't need the portal. We got us. We're all we need. Okay. Well, now you get to play, and you get home field at your back. I think the vibe around both of these coaches with those philosophies, to me, is kind of trust but verify. Everyone's fully willing to buy into Brian Kelly as long as his approach verifies. How do you not buy into Dabo Swinney? Everyone's still willing to ride for Dabo Swinney and his way of doing things as long as it verifies. But, if they lose 21-9 Saturday, then that's probably a little different tune being sung. So what are the keys to this game? Well, easily to me, the most important is not the quarterback matchup. The most important is it is a classic time to find out sort of scenario. You've heard of a time to kill. This is a time to find out. And it's time to find out about LSU's offensive line. I have bitten my tongue on this. I don't feel great about it, but like I've just said 5 times already, it doesn't matter how you feel because the games are going to happen. So once we get to Saturday night, 20 minutes to kick off, 10 minutes to kick off, LSU takes the field. Here we go, 1st and 10. That's when we find out. There's been a little mixing and matching. They've got some new pieces. They got some guys who come back. You do not get a 3-week build-up to this game. You don't get Ole Miss's schedule, all due respect. You got to be hot right out of the gate. Clemson should have, on paper, you hear it there, I'm looking at it, one of the best defensive fronts in the country. So if I'm LSU, or if I'm trying to bet money on LSU, or if I'm just rooting for them and I never bet a dime in my life and never will, I need them to at least force a stalemate there. Because what I can't have is a mismatch. I can't have myself 4 minutes to halftime sitting here saying, we can't get anything going on the ground, man. It's last year all over again. Because the entire hopes and dreams of anyone back in LSU in this game and beyond is there will be more offensive balance. And they won't be in the 100s in critical rushing statistics. And Garrett Nussmeier won't be asked to win the game with his arm because that's how that touchdown to turnover ratio creeps up a little higher than you're comfortable with it. Caden Durham's got to be a big-time player here. That offensive line's got to allow him to be a big-time player. And then the follow-up to that, the reason their offensive line at LSU is so important is because it answers the next question that I have written down on this piece of paper, and that is, what does LSU require Garrett Nussmeier to do? Great question for the entire season. The question, the central question for this game. What does LSU require Garrett Nussmeier to do? Do they require him to just stay on schedule because the offensive line does play at the level they should because it's LSU? Does the run game come through for him? Is it 2nd and 5? Is it 3rd and 2? Is he just forced to make good decisions, manage the offense, and then pick his spots, play action, make a few plays here and there because he is that good? Is it that, or is it 3rd and 7 all night? You just answered to me how this game will go. If you give me the answer one way or the other, I think a fast start for those reasons is actually borderline imperative for LSU. I'm not really interested in watching them play catch-up here. That does not interest me whatsoever because I do think if that's happening, it's probably because we're getting a poor answer to these questions, and it just doesn't lend itself to a happy outcome. Clemson's offense needs to scale here, though. For all the doubt you could have, for all the questions you could have about LSU's offense, you might have them about Clemson's as well. Total in this game's 57.5, yet there are scenarios where I see both of them struggling to move the ball a little bit. Clemson's offense last year was explosive in general, but you got to dive a little deeper into the book. You got to lick the index finger and flip a few pages to really understand the story there because they had 9 games last year. That's worth a paper pop. That's a solid stat. 9 games for Clemson's offense last year of 5+ explosive plays. Top 20 in points per game. They moved the ball very well, didn't they? Pull out the magnifying glass. They played 3 SEC opponents last year. They were a combined 14 of 40 on 3rd down. They were 2 of 16 on 3rd and long. There are a couple of commodities they have at LSU that I trust with my life. Blake Baker's one of them. That's the defensive coordinator there for the unwashed. And I trust that they're right when they say, hey, we went and got a lot of really good pieces in the secondary. You haven't heard me doubt that. I trust that. And I trust that they can play a good ball game here. LSU's transfers in the secondary, huge X factor. Huge X factor, because if that stat profile for Clemson carries over again, if it looks a lot more like the South Carolina game last year or the Georgia game, God forbid, last year, then again, that goes back to, well, if you're going to hold them to 21, 23, I don't need Garrett Nussmeier to be Superman. I don't have to run it for 210, 3 touchdowns. So my feel here, as we get closer to a pick, my feel is LSU's going to be pretty strong in this game. My feel is that they will look prepared. I really hope Nussmeier is put in a good spot. I hope that he's good to go. He's 100%. He's put in a good spot, and he's given a chance to play his game. Like I just said, a bunch of third and longs, that is no QB's game. I don't care how good you are. That's not the sweet spot. The sweet spot is a complementary ground game, defense doing its job. And okay, then if you lose the game, then I'm happy saying that's on Garrett Nussmeier. I just hope he's given that opportunity. I think there will be a swing moment late in this game. It kind of feels like the USC game last year, where there's a lot of optimism. Like, you show a lot through the first 3 quarters that leads you to believe we're about to put this one away, and I like what we've seen. Still got some stuff to work on, but this is a good starting point. And then it just swings in the fourth quarter. Let's take a look at what the odds say. FanDuel right now, Clemson minus 3.5. The model could not agree anymore with our friends at FanDuel. The model, our internal model, for those unfamiliar, also has Clemson minus 3.5. You know the names I didn't mention yet that I think will be the turning point in this game? Moore, Wesco, Williams. If you're banking on Clemson's offense being able to get it done on third down more this year, it's because I trust those guys to win contested balls. And I think that'll happen here. And that is why I'm going to ride Clemson to win. I'm going to ride Clemson to cover. Competitive game decided in the fourth quarter. If I'm wrong, and if LSU goes up there and wins, it becomes pretty apparent pretty quickly that JP Poll was too low on them, I was too low on them, and at that point it's off to the races. So this is what God created big week 1 matchups for. We don't have to wait a month in. We get to find out immediately. Right now, that's number 5 versus number 7 in the odds to win the national championship at FanDuel. If you want to drive over there, which we could, we could. I'll be in Columbus, Ohio Saturday, but we could drive over to Clemson. We could stop at Quick Trip along the way, you know. They are our partner. We are proud to partner with them. I was just on the horn with Quick Trip Joe today, QT Joe. Bradley, I'm going to ask you to do something, but then I want you to go right back to, we call this camera 1 or 3. Go to camera 2 right quick. I have an idea that I'm workshopping, and it has something to do with the set behind me. All right, that's as specific as I can get right now, because we may not even be able to do it. Okay, Bradley, go back. Go back to the camera they're actually paying us for. So, again, I know it's week 1, so I know a lot of people are stopping by for the first time. And look, if you're in the live chat right now, and a lot of you are, you're around people who will become your friends. We're all family here at Pate State. Many of you were around last year when we committed to Quick Trip. We did this full-on recruitment, multiple gas stations vying for our services. One stood out above and beyond. It felt like home. The official visit was great. It felt like home at Quick Trip. We committed to Quick Trip. It's been a great partnership ever since. They fuel the Fall Don't Lie Tour, or they will, because it starts this Saturday on the road, noon kickoff. I wouldn't have it any other way, of course, especially when the high is going to be 73 in Columbus. They fuel the Fall Don't Lie Tour. I'm going to drive up there. Hey, look, some people fly, not me. Not your boy here, Mr. Blue Collar. Roll up the sleeves, get in the truck, drive up to Columbus and back. Why wouldn't I? It's going to be beautiful. And Quick Trip is fueling us the whole way there and back, and we appreciate them. Let us continue. The other night we did on the show, you may have seen or heard, a full range of SEC win-loss record predictions. Now, if you know me, you know I don't like doing that stuff because I don't believe there's much skill in it. However, we got pressed in the spring. I asked on the show, what is it we don't do normally that you want us to do? And everyone said, you need to get more specific about your predictions. And I was like, but that means that I could be proven wrong more. And they said, exactly. And I said, exactly, no, I don't like that. I like credit. I'm not a big fan of blame. Well, nevertheless, we don't stack the show for me. We stack the show for you. So the other night, We did, by my estimation, I think right now it is 7:14 p.m., August 26th. I think there are 16 teams in the SEC. So we did all those the other night. There are 18 teams in the Big Ten. So we're going to do those tonight. Bradley, here's your endpoint. Some of the haters said we weren't going to do Big Ten win-loss record predictions. The haters lose again. They stay losing. What do we think here? This is not the model. To be very clear, normally I shirk responsibility onto the model for our predictions on the show. No, this is one of those times where I'm telling you what I feel here in the gut and here. This is the heart speaking. And my heart has led me down some terrible dead-end roads in the past. So why not follow it once more? First up, the Michigan Wolverines. What do we think the win-loss record here is? Well, it's the Bryce Underwood era. We know that. He's going to start from Bell 1. They got some tough road games. In the first 7 weeks of their season, at OU, that's Oklahoma, at Nebraska, at USC. And I cannot get a grip on them. I've told you many, many times, it feels like they're a year away from really competing in the Bryce Underwood era for a national title. But you don't have to compete for a national title to have a really good year. I think the wide receiver group, to me, is what holds them back. They're not dynamic enough there. They don't touch some of these other high-level programs when it comes to wide receiver. If I'm wrong about that, they could compete for it this year. I don't think I'm wrong about that. What I envision is Bryce Underwood shows flashes of what he could be, and what he could be is the best in the country in time. And then they sell that in the portal and recruiting. And this time next year, we're talking about a loaded wide receiver room. I could see that. But in the meantime, they've already lost a swing offensive tackle. They've got elite talent to replace on the defensive front on the other side. I just think they're a year away. I got Michigan going 8-4. So I do have them going under that win total. Apologies, of course, will be due in December if we're wrong about that. Next up, the Oregon Ducks. Went up there a couple of weeks ago. Oregon could very well have their best overall talent roster under Dan Lanning. I think that. I believe that staff feels that. But I think that staff looks at it conditionally. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got your most talented roster if you have deficiencies that are glaring in one or two areas. Do they have that? I don't think so. I think Dante Moore will be a very, very good quarterback. Could be the surprise of the Big Ten because I think most of the country's just kind of forgotten about him. It's been kind of weird. DeCorian Moore could be a star wide receiver. He could emerge this year. They need that because I think they need that wide receiver room to shake out and guys to figure out their roles. And I don't really think that happens until a wide receiver one establishes himself. And I think it could be DeCorian Moore. Offensive line should be a strength here. And that was the real big question coming out of last year. And they go get Pregnon and they go get World. And they have to hit on both of those guys. And they did hit on both of those guys. I was up there a couple of weeks ago. I watched them practice. That's what an Oregon offensive lineman is supposed to look like. I said it twice because I was talking about both of them. Defense has a shot to be really good here. The staff, I think, is another year older and wiser, and it's just a program that's maturing. It continues to add layer after layer of competitive depth. I got Oregon going 11-1 this year. I got them going to the Big Ten championship game, and obviously they're going to be squarely in the playoffs if they go 11-1. Next up, another place we went recently. What do we think about Penn State? Penn State's not a tough team to figure out. Penn State, probably fewest questions out of any of these teams for me. I would call them the Joe Moore Award favorite. We were tossing this around the office earlier today. The Joe Moore Award goes to the best offensive line in the country. And preseason, that's my favorite to win the Joe Moore Award. It's either they're 10-2 or 11-1. You could predict them to go 12-0, but that would be predicting a win at Ohio State. I'm not that bold. But outside of that, like flat out, they should win the Oregon game. In week 5, they're coming off a bye. They've got it in a whiteout at night in Happy Valley. That's Dan Lanning taking his team on the road with a new starter at quarterback. Penn State should win that game. And so I've just got to see the wide receiver unit, man. If I see Trevor Pinion, Devontae Ross, and Kyron Hudson along with a couple of those new guys, if I see them able to battle for 50-50 balls, if I'm watching them change the dynamic of 3rd and 5+ for Penn State, because right now 3rd and 6 is let's see what we can get here and make it 4th and manageable. That should not be the vibe around any kind of elite program, a program that's contending for a championship. I've got them going 11-1. That game at Iowa, which people aren't talking about, they pretend it's a 2-game season for Penn State. That game at Iowa is not easy at all, but this is a good team. And I got Penn State going 11-1. I actually do think they're a contender for the national championship. Is Nebraska? Not a contender for the national championship, just is Nebraska back? Yeah, they are back. Before I tell you what the record's going to be, a great American college football brand is set to return to the stage this year. You see that empty chair over there, you wonder who it's for. It turns out it's for Matt Rule and Nebraska. The first thing to get excited about is we get Dylan Raiola back, but we get him paired with Dana Holgerson, new offensive coordinator there, full year now. Just the sum of incremental improvement across the board has me excited. The rule is real. Matt Rule year 3, that's a real thing. It's happened multiple times at lesser programs. So if he did it at Baylor, he did it at Temple, he's going to do it here. I don't expect a massive defensive drop-off. I am really high on their wide receiver unit. I think it's very underrated. And what is it rated? I'm not sure, but not as high as it should be. Every offensive lineman that they're going to start, I believe, has 10-plus starts under his belt. It's a manageable schedule. I just look so forward to the Week 4 game against Michigan because I think they'll be undefeated by Week 4 when Michigan rolls into town. Might we roll into town along with everyone? I've got Nebraska flying over their preseason win total of 7.5, which is egregious, borderline criminal, even by the standards of our friends at FanDuel. I got Nebraska going 10-2 and making the college football playoff. Next up, it's like a Frank Underwood move there. I just don't have the presidential ring on. Ohio State. This one's a tough one for me. Ohio State has questions, but Ohio State has first world questions. They don't have normal questions up there. When they're replacing a ton of production, it's not like, all due respect, like backyard you when your local team is replacing a ton of production. But the defensive line attrition is real here. Replacing both coordinators is real here. Okay, that's going to be a problem no matter what. You lose Chip Kelly, you lose Jim Knowles, that's going to be a problem no matter what. I think their offense is going to flash greatness. When you have the caliber players on the field they are this year, you can't help but flash greatness occasionally. Jeremiah Smith's out there, Brandon Ennis, like guys like that out there. Julian Sain's a very talented quarterback. You just hadn't seen him play yet. They will flash greatness. Will they sustain it? Will it be consistent across the board? Because frankly, it wasn't last year. Like they weren't consistently great last year. They lost 2 games in the regular season last year, which I'm not quite sure has sat with people. When you think about Ohio State last year, what do you think about? National championship. Do you think 2-loss regular season in the process? So I'm looking at them right now. I'm predicting that they'll go 10-2, and I think I'll get a little pushback on that. And my pushback to the pushback is, what are you disagreeing with? This is a less talented or certainly less proven team, not as high caliber a coaching staff, and that crew lost 2 games last year. I'm predicting them to match last year's win-loss record. I think that's more than fair. Next up, USC. Do you have any idea? Does anyone out there have any idea? USC, the collective attitude around that program seems to just be, you'll see. They led like 5 games last year in the fourth quarter in Big Ten play. They ended up losing, which is just the most mind-boggling stat of college football this year. And yet they look around and they say, you'll see. We were out there in the spring. Lincoln Riley essentially said that on the show. You'll see. I'm ready to see. I think the game at Illinois is the hinge game of the season. That is in Week 5. That game is September 27th in Champaign. No one's talking about it nationally. The folks in L.A. know about it. The folks at Illinois certainly know about it. If they come out of that one and they're undefeated, then it sets up, because they got Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska as their next 3 games. Then they're thrust into the national spotlight. Jaden Maiava has a full year as the starter now. Like, it's his job. He knows it. It's not Miller Moss, and then he's the backup. I'm excited to see that because Lincoln Riley is more than proven himself with his ability to develop the quarterback position. The defense is what excites me the most. It's not a star-studded, like star-laden group, but the staff is undeniable. The progress they made last year is undeniable. I think that theme will continue this year. Offensive line's probably my biggest question. and their ability to win games. And you think that's the most common sense thing you could say. No, I mean in the one possession games, the ones that are decided in the fourth quarter, which most of theirs were last year, they were terrible. And there is a skill, there is an innate ability for some teams that know how to win to show it. And then there's the lack of that from organizations that just continue to lose and come up short in those spots. Is USC really just like a loser program? I don't think they are. Lincoln Riley's won. I don't think he forgot how to win. Maybe it's taken a little longer than they thought out there. I'm going to put a 9-3 projection on USC. 9-3, not a playoff team. I got him just on the outside of that bubble, but that's exciting because that holds that recruiting class together. And that probably springboards them into some irresponsible level hype going into next year. The rest of the Big Ten, I've got shaken out like this. And you got to bear with me because I just went through 6 teams. And it's only then that you realize, wow, another 2/3 of the conference. So I looked in Jesse and I said, we can't have a telethon tonight. So let's do 6 teams individually. And then I'll just tell you, I got Illinois going 8-4. I got Indiana going 8-4. I got Washington going 8-4. So I got 3 8-win teams there. Good, solid teams. Just someone's got to tote some L's. I think those are all good records. I think Illinois folks will probably want at least 9-3. And there's probably one more loss there. I don't think it's just as easy as returning a bunch of starters and you carry over all the momentum. I think it'll be a little more bumpy a road. A good team, but a little more bumpy of a road. Same with Indiana this year. Minnesota and Iowa, I both have at 7-5. Iowa concerns me because I think their potential is higher than that. So, out of all these teams, if someone goes like 2 games above what I'm projecting, I think it's probably Iowa going 9-3 instead of 7-5. Rutgers and Michigan State, I both have at 6-6. And then we get below 500. I got Wisconsin at 5-7, and that sucks. I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's the toughest schedule in this league. Still don't know. I'm still asking the fundamental question, what is Wisconsin's identity? UCLA 4-8, Maryland 4-8, Northwestern 3-9, Purdue 3-9. So obviously someone in that bottom group is going to shock the world. It happens every year. Indiana did it last year. Who would it be? My guess is Michigan State. If someone truly shocks the world, out of the ones I have projected like 7-5 or worse, I would say probably Michigan State. But there's just a lot of that bottom half of the Big Ten. Hopefully that changes. Let's move on. Let me pull something up here right quick. Okay, we're good. But I welcome constructive feedback on that. Remember the rule, everyone. The rule, just like we stated the other night, and I'll state it again, is I'm happy to listen to you call me an idiot. That's fine. I just need you to make sure if you're calling me an idiot for things such as predictions, give me your prediction. Don't just shout nonsense. Give me your prediction. Because what we want to do around here, this is an educational institution, after all, at Pate State. We want to come back in December and we want to revisit. And it may be that you were right. It may be that you got Ohio State going 12-0, and I was a solid 2 games off, and you were right. But there's also the possibility that I stumbled into some correct predictions, and you're just a little too high on a team. We just want to responsibly revisit. That's what December is for, after all. Let's continue. You know what Sunday night's for? In week 1 for standalone college football games. Notre Dame at Miami, Sunday night, 7:30 Eastern kickoff on ABC. The table is set. This is wonderful. I think people are talking about Miami, and I think they're half right. Because they did miss a chance last year. They had a great quarterback in Ward. They had an opportunity with the overall skill level that they had accumulated, and yet they dropped the ball. And namely, they couldn't play defense to save their lives. So they did miss an opportunity last year. There's no excuse for that team missing the playoff last year. So there is that. They're right when they say that. I think they're incorrect when they say they missed their window. Miami didn't miss their window. Miami's not a window team. Miami has the kind of personnel that will allow them to compete every year. So last year, make no bones about it, They missed a shot. They could also give themselves another shot this year and the next year and the next year. That's like saying it about LSU. Oh, LSU had Jaden Daniels. They missed their shot. No, they missed a shot. They'll be right back to having another shot the year. So that's Miami. Then the follow-up, as you dive into the game, is you got a bunch of talk about quarterback here. Carson Beck has transferred to Miami. He's the starting quarterback there. C.J. Carr has been named the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. The difference in those quarterback questions is astounding. Like Carson Beck, C.J. Carr, the question is, what's he going to be? Because we haven't seen him start. Carson Beck, this time last year, the talk was enjoy him at Georgia one more year. Enjoy it. He headed off to the NFL after this year, and instead he headed off to Coral Gables, Florida. Again, there are no stupid predictions in college football. Because if anyone would have predicted that last year, Carson Beck's going to come back, but he's not going to be playing for Georgia. Oh, and Georgia people are going to convince you that it's a good thing that he moved on. No one predicts that. So no prediction is stupid this time of year. Let's dive into the game. I think that the focus for Notre Dame in this game does not immediately go to C.J. Carr. As much as he's going to be talked about, and yeah, I have a morbid fascination with seeing how he fares in this game. The Notre Dame run game against Miami's run defense is the most important single facet of this game. I have implicit trust in Notre Dame's offensive line. I saw everything I needed to see last year. No matter how many guys went down, they just trotted another one out there, and it was like a machine. They just all played to the same standard. Not only that, you want to talk about predictions not meaning much. Man, most of us thought Notre Dame's offensive line might be a net weakness in the preseason. They were going to have to put freshmen at tackle and everything, or start young guys along the offensive line. They're going to go into Kyle Field in week one. That pass rush was going to get after him. They won. They got better as the season went on. Little blip on the radar screen against Northern Illinois. Go all the way to the national title game. Guys getting hurt left and right. Didn't matter. So I believe in them. And I believe in Mr. Love and Mr. Price in the backfield. I think they can run the ball on almost anyone. Can they run the ball on anyone, though? So, last year, little mini paper popper of a stat here. They played, by our estimation, 3 top 10 teams. We didn't have Indiana top 10, which is convenient because that would have bolstered the stat category I'm about to read. Point taken. But they played Georgia, Penn State, and Ohio State last year and averaged 3.1 yards per carry. Now, what they did do is they were top 5 in rushes of 30-plus yards last year. So they had the explosive run. And it really doesn't matter if they're stoning you Sunday night. If you break off a couple of 50-plus yard runs, you probably win the ball game. And that's tough to forecast. So if that profile carries for Notre Dame, that's interesting. But what if they can't run the ball all that effectively? And they do have to throw the ball. Well, what is Miami's secondary would be my question there. If Notre Dame gets limited running the ball here, it's a completely overhauled secondary for Miami. Normally that would concern you. That's actually a blessing in this case because they essentially didn't have one last year. There were guys in uniform out there, but it was largely aesthetic. Miami didn't really have a secondary. So obviously, if you look at C.J. Carr, dude's never played meaningful downs in his life. And you know that Notre Dame's bread and butter is running the ball. I mean, we're going to make him throw the ball to beat us. We're going to go heavy box. We're going to make him prove himself. Miami top 20 in sacks per game last year. And Bain is back and Mesidor's back. 3 of their top 5 sack getters are back. So you got the whole stay on schedule thing that you got to worry about. But Notre Dame has a low-key, excellent wide receiver group. Notre Dame fans would say it's not low-key. I think it's low-key because nationally people don't characterize Notre Dame like that yet. Now, if you show out Saturday or Sunday night, they'll learn about it. But do you unlock the ability to take advantage of it? Like C.J. Carr has the tools as well. C.J. Carr is a very, very talented player. It's all got to connect. Like it's all got to come together on the field. My point there is to remind you, some of the feedback we've gotten from Miami's camp is not only did we overhaul the secondary, they went and got a ton of portal guys, went and got a new defensive coordinator. They actually believe the secondary could be a strength of this team. And if they're even close to right about that, then that's a whole new world for Miami, and that's a whole new way to look at this game. It's a big test for Shannon Dawson, offensive coordinator at Miami. It's a really big test for Carson Beck. I mean, he's the real story that people are going to pay attention to, but they are replacing their top half dozen pass catchers. So the real story, the one that'll go the furthest in determining Miami's fate here, is Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle and that Miami offensive line, specifically against the interior of Notre Dame's defensive front. Because if they do business Sunday night, that's where it'll be. And you'll see them getting pushed inside. And over the span of 4 quarters, you'll start to say, wow, Notre Dame's they don't really have much of an answer here. And that is an area of potential vulnerability. If you're looking for matchup edges, that is the potential matchup edge here from Miami. Mark Fletcher, by the way, if that's the case, that's the name at the end of the night when they put up the fancy graphics they have. That could be the one that really showed out for Miami. Let's take a look at the FanDuel odds. Notre Dame minus 2.5. The model is a little bit different in the way it sees this game. It's got it as a straight-up pick'em. I think Miami's going to be able to run the ball, and I think it's going to be a very mixed result type game for C.J. Carr and that Notre Dame passing offense. I'm going to buy in. I'm going to buy into the intel that we've gotten out of Miami about that secondary. Plenty good enough, plenty overhauled enough that I think they give themselves a shot to win here, and I think they are able to take over enough. They're not going to dominate Notre Dame. I'm saying they're going to be able to take over enough, and that ground game, between the tackles, is going to be able to be effective enough to where Miami covers here, and I think Miami's going to win the game outright. Sold out venue there on Sunday night, by the way. I need to tell you something. The other night, I nonchalantly announced during the show that the Pate State store was back and that we had added some Fall Don't Lie merchandise. We added 3 shirts. You see them if you're watching on YouTube. They're right there. There's a handy QR code for you to use. I really underestimated the traffic the site was going to see. It didn't crash, but we moved some shirts the other night. And just out of curiosity, if you have it, all that just goes right back into the show. That's how we make sure we're fully independent. We don't have to lean on private equity around here, for example. You guys help us out on that front. And we also have real fun because the better the store does, the quicker we can get new designs made. And, like someone gives me a good idea on a Monday night, and by Thursday, voila, it's on the site. That's kind of the vision we've always had for the store. So PateStateMaterial.com is open. These designs are great. That middle one especially is my favorite one, the Fall Don't Lie logo. It's immaculate. I have ordered them for my entire apartment hold, and I don't suggest it. I humbly request that you consider doing the same. PateStateMaterial.com. Great stop this time of year. Let's continue. You know what has made a suspicious appearance in this stack of papers in front of me? The JP poll. The JP poll is here just in time for week 1. JP poll, for those of you who have been around for a little while, makes you inhale and say, here we go. And for those of you who are new around here, this is really where you determine how mature you are as a viewer/listener of this show. Because it is largely a disaster every single year. And it's not our fault. Not our fault. Watch, for instance, or listen, for instance. I'm going to tell you exactly what this is. What this is a power rating of neutral field favorability as determined by this model. If that sounds like Portuguese to you, then what it is a way of stacking these teams up in order of how they would be favored against each other on a neutral field if the model were to spit out a point spread. Just like FanDuel, for example, only we're not using FanDuel's numbers. We generate our own numbers. They're going to look a lot like FanDuel's because everyone's kind of using the same data. We're just weighting it slightly differently here or there. There is no gut involved here. There is no heart. There is no brain. There's just data that is properly weighted. The model doesn't even know what conference these teams are in. In fact, the model doesn't even know who the team is. The model just knows a set of data. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair way to describe what the model is, and then we use it and we generate the JP poll, which is a play on the AP poll. I will get pushback dozens of times per week. Why do you call it a poll if there's no voters? Because it sounds good. Why does anyone call anything? Because it sounds good. But don't you think it's irresponsible? No, I think it's a fun thing we do on a college football show. I think you're overthinking the room a little bit. Calm down. You're acting like your mother. I think you're overthinking the room a little bit if you get bent out of shape on what we're calling a fictitious poll that's real to us. But I digress. Bradley, without further ado, show us the JP poll because we've had some movement. You know, we're constantly baking in injury information and intel that we get, and we're tossing it into the old model here. And so we do have a little movement. That's why I felt it necessary to sort of re-debut the Week 1 edition of the JP poll. Texas and Ohio State are still 1-2. Do not let the AP lie to you. We absolutely have number 1 versus number 2 this Saturday in Columbus, Ohio. We will be there. All right, it's not 1-3. Forget all that nonsense. Don't believe what the TV screen graphic tells you. It's number 1 versus number 2. Penn State's number 3. They moved 1 up. Georgia moved 1 down. For the record, that is 0.2 of a point that separates those two. So before you start scrawling out the hate mail to send to me, it's 0.2 of a point. If it makes you sleep better at night, flip them. Flip them. The model wouldn't even know the difference. It's less than half a point. We got Alabama 5. That is unchanged. Oregon is number 6. They are now 1 spot ahead of Notre Dame. Florida is now number 8. Look at the eye rolls all over. There's no one in the studio. I've got that kind of connection with the audience. I know a lot of you are not buying Florida, and that's okay. In due time, like the old man said in Jurassic Park, I will be accepting your apologies. Don't embarrass me, Florida. Billy, don't embarrass me. Clemson is at number 9. They are down 1. Again, these are very, very minute movements, like less than half a point on all of them. Oklahoma's number 10. Now, an important note here, paper pop of the worst variety. Oklahoma last year, the JP poll had preseason number 12. Classic example of don't blame me, blame the model. There is going to be fool's gold somewhere here. It's inevitable. Doesn't matter how good your model is. Someone's going to be dead on arrival, and someone's going to be outside the top 25 and make a move. I just hope it's not Oklahoma again, because at that point we have to ask some uncomfortable questions about Oklahoma. Number 11, Miami. Total wild card team here. Because if that secondary is retooled and Carson Beck is frankly just what we expected him to be last year, Miami could be a top 5 team. Model doesn't really know. Model looks at Carson Beck and it just has a giant question mark. So it doesn't know. LSU, number 12. I think LSU is the biggest potential exposure that I have and that the model has. Because I have LSU going 8-4. They are the team that's actually capable of 11-1 that I'm the lowest on. I fully acknowledge, yes, I'm a little bit lower on LSU than the market. I acknowledge that they could make a fool out of me and the model, not in that order. So LSU has me concerned. Miami has me a little concerned, having them outside the top 10. A&M at 13, I could kind of say the same thing, but I think A&M's properly placed. Okay, there's a lot of potential there. It's still got to be borne out. Ole Miss at 14, largely agree. USC's at 15. Do you know where the AP has USC? For all the USC hatred that we get accused of on this show, and for all of the USC slurping that the AP gets accused of, we got them 15. The AP has USC at 30th. 30th. So once USC starts winning this year, which they will enough, and the AP starts bumping them up, just remember, in fact, let's have a side prop bet market on FanDuel. How long does it take? How many weeks before the AP ranking of USC surpasses the JP poll rating of USC? What do you say, Jesse? I'm going to say week 6. Maybe that's when Michigan comes in there. Give me week 7. I think week 7 is when the AP surpasses us. Let's go 16 through 20. So we got Michigan at 16. We got South Carolina at 17, Tennessee at 18. These are unchanged. Nebraska is now in the top 20 of the JP poll. Really, really good returns from camp. About wide receiver, I think the offensive line is getting shaken out. It just may not be the starting 5 that were projected in preview magazines, but they'll get the right starting 5 there. And Georgia Tech, number 20. For the record, just like I said with USC, AP, we're doing your show prep for you here. The AP has Nebraska outside the top 30. Again, a dereliction of duty covering the sport. And the AP has Georgia Tech 31st. I get it. You got to see it to believe it. We believe it before we see it. That's what faith is all about. And to a lesser degree, the JP poll. The rest of them, just if you're curious where teams were or weren't, Auburn's 21. They're just outside the top 20. SMU's right behind them. Illinois and Indiana are in the 26 to 27 range. Utah has me concerned because we got Utah at 23rd. The ceiling on Big 12 teams is going to be a little lower because a lot of this is about talent roster, and the Big 12 teams aren't going to match up. I think Utah could make some noise. They could also lose 5 games. This isn't necessarily about wins and losses. It's about quality of team and neutral field favorability. But yeah, Utah at 23. It wouldn't surprise me if there was some Big 12 team that ended up cracking the top 15 a few weeks in if it was Utah. Whomst amongst us knows. That's why we're going to play the games. Happy to have you guys in. Make sure if you're watching live or if you're listening at the replay, watching the replay, just subscribe. Subscribe. I know it sounds like I'm begging, and with good reason, I am. I'd really love to get us to 500,000 subscribers. Like, we're kind of close. It's just, we're doing college football all year. It's free. It doesn't cost anything for you to subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. You don't get signed up for anything. Nothing bad happens. It's all good. Just that little subscribe button. Just click it and help us out. We appreciate it. We move on. Game predictions continue. I got something at the end of the show. I'm telling you, I'm looking at it right here. It's at the end of the show for a reason. It's not the Portnoy stuff. I'm going to talk about that, but it's not the Portnoy stuff. In the meantime, game predictions continue. Alabama is at Florida State, Saturday, 3:30, ABC. Joe Tess on the call, power rated number 1 in the Pate State play-by-play ratings. We'll see if he holds on to it. It's hard to get a read on Florida State for obvious reasons. So, I mean, what are you expecting from them? I got loose ideas. I don't think anyone knows what to expect. Like, I certainly don't think they're back to their vintage 2023 ways or anything like that. But it's just hard. I mean, you got Gus Malzahn, the offensive coordinator there now. You got Tony White, the defensive coordinator. Probably the most important coordinator hire that was made is Ryan Grubb for Alabama out of all of them. And we get to see them all on display here. It's the dawn of the Ty Simpson era at quarterback for Bama. It's the dawn of the Tommy Castellanos era. How many are going to go soft on the L's? Remains to be seen. Another good, solid FanDuel prop bet there. There is a world where this game is fundamental. So for the record, Bama's a 13.5-point favorite right now, with good reason. So there's a world, in the interest of predicting this game, where it doesn't take long. And there's a world where this thing becomes really fundamental. Florida State doesn't know their defensive identity, and that becomes obvious early. Bama is fully in touch with their offensive identity, and that becomes obvious earlier. They outman Florida State. They can just lean on them. They can take their pick. It's really good balance. Play action games working. Bama ground games working. It's a good plan for Ty Simpson. They get several pass catchers involved. Take the crowd out of it. That's one possible way this game goes. That's the way Bama wins 42-17 or something like that. But that's not fun. So a lot of times, if you're new around here, what we'll do on these double-digit type spreads, these 2+ touchdown or thereabout type spreads, is we will just acknowledge there's a reason some teams favored by double digits. We'll ask ourselves, do we think there's a shot that the underdog can win outright? And yes, there is an outside shot that Florida State could win this game outright, or we wouldn't be talking about it on the show. So what we like to do with the game breakdown is we like to ask, what would that scenario be? Not to see Florida State cover. What would the scenario be if Florida State actually won this game? And I think it's pretty clear. I think it would be Gus Malzahn pulling a Vanderbilt 2.0. Quarterback runs, kill Bama. Quarterback scrambles on broken plays, kill Bama. The just mobile quarterback problem in general continues to bite them. The option game is lethal. Third down is a nightmare. Do you remember that Vandy game last year? Paper popper of a stat here. Vandy was 12 of 18 on third down. Bama can 18 third down attempts is like half a month If you got a bye, it could be a whole month. Vandy had it in one afternoon. They led 23-14 at the half. They beat them 40-35. This is the type of game with Bama folks thinking their defense is as improved as we think it is, where they're saying, oh, I think we'll win 35-13, sort of, 38-17. Well, the way this goes sideways is Malzahn puts you in a blender in the first half. He's been cooking something up all spring and summer, and he pops it on you, and it's 20-17 at halftime already. And then the second half continues to play according to script. A couple of interesting subplots here. In the interest of just talking about all the ways this game could go, there is also a world where Bama wins the game, but there are all kind of red flags on it. Kicking could be one of those. I'm not very comfortable with the Bama kicking situation right now. What if Bama wins the game, but penalties are a chronic issue? Because that was a chronic issue for them last year. There could also be a scenario, I'm not trying to preach moral victory here for you, but Florida State, if they lose the game 38-10, that's not good. That's not good beyond just week one. What if it's 24-23? Really, really hard fought, just dogfight of a game. They're up 23-21. Speaking of the Bama kicking game, like maybe Bama hits a field goal at the buzzer. Quarterback Tommy Castellanos backs up all the talking over the summer. That actually gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling about Florida State moving forward. So you can't just tell me they win or they lose. I got to know how it plays out. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. The FanDuel number right now is Bama minus 13.5. Model misled us badly on Florida State last year, so let it be known. The model did not sink its teeth into Florida State's issues until way too late in the year. Model's got Bama minus 12. I fundamentally disagree. I think there is an interesting way to bet this game if you're so inclined. And I may talk about it on Friday Night Lines at Josh Pate CFB on Instagram Live. But as for the whole game, I'm taking Bama to win. I'm taking Alabama to cover. I think they win the thing by 16, 17 plus, something like that. But I don't know that that's how the game starts. I'll just leave it at that for now. Academy Sports and Outdoors, regardless of which fan base you're in, there is probably going to be one in your backyard. It's time to tailgate, and I cannot stress enough how comfortable and how manageable the outdoors scene will be across most of the eastern third of the country Saturday. And so it's late August, but yet you get outside and you don't even need a fan. You could purchase one at Academy, but you don't need one. You just need chairs. You can get them there. You need tailgate equipment, grilling equipment, the canopies, the tents that just dot the tailgating landscape. You can get it at Academy Sports and Outdoors. A little bat and ball for the kiddos to play in the background. Keep an eye on them. You can get it at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Clothing, footwear. Yeah, you got all of it. Academy Sports and Outdoors. If you can't get there in person, academy.com has your hookup. Longtime partner of the show. We appreciate them. Cleveland, Ohio is tuned in. Fort Worth, Texas. Pensacola, Florida. Let's continue to roll on. Oh, boy. The good old-fashioned topic on the show. Normally, Tuesday night is mostly game predictions. But every now and then something happens. Show me the tweet, Bradley. I actually can believe someone asked about this. Let me take a sip of water. Okay. Rich from Muskegon, Michigan. He said, what do you make of this story about Dave Portnoy being banned from Ohio State week 1? Can you break out Pate State Investigates and get to the bottom of it? Well, there's already been a lot of investigative journalism about this today, Rich. Now, if you are unaware of what we're talking about here, Dave Portnoy runs Barstool, built Barstool. I think it's fair to say he leans Michigan. I think it's fair to say. Recently acquired by Fox to appear on Big Noon Kickoff, which is their counter-programming to College Game Day. As you can imagine, you're looking at Dave Portnoy. This doesn't exactly sit well with certain institutions in the Big Ten. So earlier today, Front Office Sports reported that Ohio State was banning him from their stadium, which is noteworthy because, to give you a little inside football, the way that these pregame shows work and the way it'll work Saturday is anytime they're at a noon kickoff game, a lot of times what they like to do is set up outside the stadium, do their first hour as they normally would outside the stadium. But then because the game's going to be starting and all the crowd that they use to basically provide the ambiance is going to go in the stadium, they go inside the stadium for the final 30 minutes or hour of programming. They have an entirely different set built in the stadium. So Fox does that, ESPN does that. They'll both be there Saturday. I assume that they'll both do that. I know Fox will. It's a Fox game, and I assume ESPN will as well. But anyway, I digress. What's happening here is some people at Ohio State looked around and said, Portnoy's coming in our stadium? Over our dead body he is. And Front Office Sports reported that. Okay, then Dave Portnoy calls one of his classic emergency press conferences, and he says, yeah, they banned me, and they also banned the Barstool pregame show. They have their own separate pregame show that emanates from various campi, plural of campus, across the country. And then Ross Dellinger swoops in like Shawn Michaels on the zip line at, WrestleMania 12, I believe. And it was in Anaheim. Anyway, he comes in and he says, nope, more breaking news. According to Ross Bjork, the AD at Ohio State, and according to Fox themselves, this was a network decision. Fox just decided, hey, our protocol is for guys who are going to be at the desk at the end of the show. Those are the ones who are credentialed, go inside the stadium, they're on the field, and we didn't plan on Dave being on camera at that point, so we weren't going to have him in there either way. Much ado about nothing, right? Yeah, so I heard about this last week. This was brewing last week. I didn't say anything on air about it because I didn't really think it was a topic for the show. I was not surprised when I saw this headline pop up today. So, what do we have here? Well, we have what Fox banked on. That's what we have. Fox looked around. They said, College Game Day got a lot of juice right now. College Game Day went and got Pat McAfee. I don't really particularly care what you think about him. The results, the added viewership, the traffic, the attention, the profile of that show has increased. Net result of Pat McAfee being on air. They said, how do we respond to that? They thought to themselves, Dave Portnoy. It's a good, solid chess move, right? The problem is Dave Portnoy is not looked at nearly as fondly across the Big Ten, maybe as Pat McAfee would be looked at across the SEC, because there's no allegiance that Pat has to any SEC program, and there is definite, like, unapologetic, cut your chest open with a machete and bleed maize and blue type allegiance that Dave has with Michigan. This is not the football business. This is the entertainment business. This is what you banked on if you're Fox. Fox knew pulling this string they were about to piss off most of the Big Ten. They did it anyway. They did it anyway. And you know what the worst thing to do now would be to back off of it. No, you made your decision. You ride with it. Ryan Day, for instance, I know hates this. I would if I were him. I don't think it's soft. Okay, a lot of people said, "Oh, this is soft. This is such a soft move." You'd do the same thing if you were them. If you listen to a guy trash you, if you listen to a guy call you Crying Day over and over again, then found out, oh, our media partner hired him for their pregame show, huh? You think you'd just sit back and say, oh well. I think you pretend like you'd say that. You wouldn't say that. You'd be just as petty and small as they are. I don't even know that I call it small. So I think both of the trade-offs here, both sides of it are fair. Fox wants to roll the dice. You know, Fox wants to show a new side of themselves and put Portnoy on air. That's a gamble. It's a risk. It's edgy for a reason. You don't get to make those high-risk decisions without any risk. Part of the risk is you're going to make some people mad, and they're going to try and pull stuff like this. So if I'm okay with you making the hire, I'm okay with the counter to that. It's all entertainment. It's all the entertainment business. Dave's not taking the field Saturday at kickoff. Okay, so it's not affecting the football game. So as long as it's not affecting the football game, that means it has nothing to do with football. It has to do with entertainment. And for as much as you may hate this, like if you're Ryan Day, if I were Ryan Day, as much as I may hate this, as much as it may really, really aggravate me that this is even a thing that's on my radar that I have to worry about, well, that I am worried about, I'm making $10+ million a year because I'm in the entertainment business. I am making $10+ million a year because of the attention that this stuff gets. And trust me, it's not always your zone blocking scheme that attracts the eyeballs. It's the spectacle of it all. It's the tradition, it's the pageantry, it's the storylines, maybe some stuff that you could do with or without. But I guarantee you, when you look at that check you cash, when Ross Bjork, when any AD out there, when any administrative type, when any assistant coach, when you look at those checks you cash, those extra few zeros, I'm not saying it's because Dave Portnoy brought them to the table, but because of that culture, because of the fact that it exists, because of that entire ecosystem, you get to live the life you live. This is the trade-off. So he trashes Ohio State. They put him on TV. You don't want him anywhere near you. That's all fair to me. That was my takeaway. It's all fair to me. I'm just ready to kick off Saturday. Like that's an 11 a.m., 11:15 a.m., 11:30 a.m. thing. I'm ready for 12 p.m. That's what I'm ready for. Yeah, Jesse, he made a good point in my ear. Do me a favor and like the video while you're watching. You know what you do? You like the video, and then I'll give you some money. What? I'm going to get paid for liking the video? Yes, in a way. I hold in my hand a very important piece of paper. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ramen Noodle Express is back, proudly powered by FanDuel and Cole to a lesser extent, mainly FanDuel. The Ramen Noodle Express, for again, those who are new amongst us, the freshmen at Pate State, is just a less fancy way to describe our best bets of the week. We have profited every year but one since 2017 off of riding the model to make our best bets for the week. And I've got 3 of them for you tonight. This is not exhaustive, so we update this all throughout the week. It will culminate with Friday Night Lines, which will emanate from whichever hotel I'm staying at in Columbus this Friday night. You need to be following. So, check the Instagram story throughout the day. I'll let you know when I get in, what time we're going to fire it up. It's usually, I can tell you, it's going to be halftime of the Auburn-Baylor game. That's when we'll do it this Friday night. Imagine, how great is that? How blessed of a college football people are we? You're watching Auburn and Baylor. Who in the world knows what that thing's going to look like? And then you get to halftime. Then you fire up Instagram Live for 20, 25 minutes. And I sit there in some ill-lit hotel room, a nondescript part of Columbus, Ohio. What could go wrong? I got the model pulled up, and I am just taking live chat after live chat suggestion. Let me know what you think about Purdue Ball State. And I say, well, my goodness, Purdue's favored by 18.5. The model thinks they should only be favored by 12.5. That's a Ramen Noodle Express best bet. That's the vibe. Only you won't hear me say that exact thing Friday night because I'm saying that exact thing right now. That is the first best bet of the year on the Ramen Noodle Express, and that is Ball State plus 18.5. I love Barry Odom. Love him. He's got 82 new players on that team. And Ball State is not exactly leading the country in returning production either. We just think 18.5 is way too many points for Ball State to be toting. So we're going to take Ball State plus 18.5. Also a game that concerns me is taking place in Atlanta, neutral site game. The bane of my existence as future college football commissioner. This game would not be in Atlanta. But until then, Syracuse is getting 13.5. Syracuse is expected to fall off this year. They're playing Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be looking to make a statement, blah, blah, blah. That's not how we see this game going. We think Tennessee should be a 10-point favorite, not a 13.5-point favorite. So we're taking Syracuse plus 13.5. And you already heard me earlier tonight say I think Miami's going to beat Notre Dame outright. So if FanDuel's going to give us 2.5, we're going to take 2.5. Sprinkle some on the money line as well. But as for the Ramen Noodle Express / record-keeping perpi, plural of purpose, we're going to go Miami plus 2.5. More to come this week. Immunity. That's all available at FanDuel, obviously. The exclusive odds provider of the show. I was doing Kay Adams' show earlier today because it's Futures Day at FanDuel. Told you about that Sunday night. So Futures Day, which is still got about 4 hours left in it in Central Time Zone, is basically a holiday where they give you all kind of value on the futures markets over there. So if you think John Mateer could win the Heisman, this is the day you want to be betting it. Personally, I bet it 3 months ago, but this is the day you want to be betting it. So we appreciate FanDuel, the exclusive odds provider of the show. I got asked, do you think that there's a team out there that could have the national title and Heisman winner? Yeah, you could say Texas. You could say that. I said Florida. Because if Lagway's good enough to win the Heisman, Florida obviously was good enough to get in the playoff. And if Florida's good enough to get in the playoff, they'll be good enough to win it. We'll see. Okay. I have terrible news. They're at it again. They're at it again. I'm going to give Bradley time to gather himself in there. Really, that's a lie. I'm giving myself time to gather my thoughts here. I'm not happy about this. This happens too often in our sport. Stop filibustering. What are you talking about? Well, here's what I'm talking about. Paul hit me from Dover, New Hampshire. He said, what were you talking about with people wanting to do away with the Farmageddon name? Great question, Paul. I will tell you. Farmageddon just got played in Dublin, Ireland. Farmageddon is the name of the Iowa State-Kansas State rivalry game. All right, if you were following me on Twitter earlier today, you saw what Paul's talking about. Here it is right here. Bradley's showing it to you. Ooh, big hiccup. I said any official from Kansas State or Iowa State or the Big 12 that has lobbied ESPN to not use the term Farmageddon is a completely unserious person. This is a real thing that's happening. It's a serious thing. These are not serious people, but it is a serious thing. So Reese Davis, I believe, was doing the College Game Day podcast, and I believe it was today or yesterday. It was the most recent episode. There was a little snippet that caught some people's attention where he was talking about the game and they mentioned Farmageddon. They said the term. And Reese Davis revealed that there was a push by certain unnamed sweater vests in the room to have them not use that term on air. But he didn't get really specific about who it was because he's too respectful and he's too professional. But I'm not. So Pate State Investigates went to get to the bottom of it today. And I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with ESPN, and it has nothing to do with the Big 12, but there are, in fact, people, there are, in fact, folks moving in the shadows who are trying to do exactly what he suggested, and that is take great rivalry game names and eradicate them like the old dude sitting on the Cracker Barrel logo. As of 2 hours ago, the old dude on the Cracker Barrel logo is back because common sense prevailed. Golf clap to all of you. Bullying works. Meemaw taught me that a long time ago. So it's time to bully your local Big 12 sweater vest because they're trying to do it to your conference, America's college football conference. Rivalries are the best thing about college football. Rivalry names are some of the best things about the best things in college football. And you got folks who have no clue which way is up when it comes to tradition and pageantry. You got folks wearing school colors that have no clue what those colors represent. And I'm telling you, as much as you may detest some of these people, you do not detest them enough. Nobody hates college football more than some of the people that try and run college football. So the types of people we're talking about here are not coaches. They are not media executives, even in this case. No, it's your good old-fashioned campus sweater vest. The kind of people who you don't see a whole lot. You don't see them because they wait until mid-first quarter to arrive at the stadium, and they leave mid-fourth quarter, so they don't have to rub shoulders with you. They will pose with the concession food, but then they toss it in the trash after you put the phone away because they're still full from brunch at the country club. Their job exists because of you, but they can't stand you. They have nothing in common with you. They could not care less about you. And they look at a name like Farmageddon, and they say, oh, it's got farm in it. Farming? Who farms? Farmers? That's who farms. Check your fridge. Check it. Where do you think that came from? It didn't come from Lower Manhattan. A lot of folks, marketing degrees, and that's the worst thing they could possibly be equipped with because they've got degrees in a bunch of stuff that's hanging on the wall. What they are not degreed in whatsoever is basic human nature. They don't know real people. It might as well be your kid playing with a bubble set. And those bubbles floating through the air, that's the extent of their social circle. And they don't want it to be any other way. They got nothing in common with you. And it's okay if they exist outside college football, but every now and then, one of these folks weasels their way into a decision-making position in college athletics, and they look around and they say, oh, good, I can make a lot of money over here, but I don't like this world. It doesn't look like a world that I want to have anything to do with it. And so what do? Do they leave? No. No, instead they try and fundamentally change everything about this world. Things that we would consider great, they consider a nuisance, rivalry game names being one of those. And I am here to tell you that as Pate State Investigates looked around this issue earlier today, I uncovered some troubling news. While there may be nameless, faceless sweater vests at Iowa State and or Kansas State that would like to do away with the rivalry game name Farmageddon, that's not the only rivalry game name that is under threat, even in the Big 12. So let's take a lesson from Cracker Barrel protocol. The old dude's back, the old logo's back, but at least there, we had to watch and suffer through all the cringiness all week, where we watched people painfully out of touch with a brand and its mission, try and torch it and its credibility, only to be saved at the 11th hour. In the Big 12, don't let it come to that. You got to bully these people, not physically, but verbally, and not in necessarily a harassing way, but you just got to let them know. Let them know what Big 12 football means. Let them know what college football means. When they throw around those words, tradition and pageantry, just because they focus group well, let them know they mean more than just the needle ticked up in their focus group meter. Those aren't just tested words. Those words mean something to people. Culture, ways of life, that stuff means something to people like us. And so I would recommend you speak up long and loud on this sort of thing, or else you may find yourself on the defensive, like our fine friends at Cracker Barrel did. So they prevailed. I hope we will on this front. That's how I'd like to end tonight's show. Appreciate you guys. We're going to start the show an hour early Thursday. So normally we're 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We got football starting Thursday night, though. So let's go 7 Eastern, 6 Central on Thursday night. And I got news for you as well. Go ahead and start preparing yourself for this. Our Sunday show is going to be probably a 1 Eastern time start. Because South Carolina, Virginia Tech is mid-afternoon. Notre Dame, Miami is at night. So we've never done that before. We're going to do like a noon Central time start on Sunday. So start setting your watches, okay? We'll be back here Thursday night. Until then, for Director Bradley, for Producer Jesse, I'm Josh Pate. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening, and God bless.